In January 1945, Alsace looked like a postcard from the Arctic Circle. Highway signs disappeared beneath snow mounds. Bridges turned into slick white cliffs, and the Rhine River became a ribbon of steel. Every breath felt like swallowing broken glass, and every movement felt like dragging a coffin. The American 7th Army, exhausted from weeks of fighting, was stretched to breaking point. The French 1st Army, still rebuilding after years of occupation, was fighting with passion but limited equipment. Supplies froze before reaching the front. Radio batteries died in minutes. Even morphine turned to ice inside syringes. And facing them, the German 19th Army, cold, starving, outnumbered, but determined. They dug themselves deep into the villages of Alsace, turning every home, church, and barn into a fortress. Hitler himself commanded that Colmar must never fall. It was the last German foothold west of the Rhine. Retreat was forbidden, surrender was treason, and resistance would be absolute.
The truth is simple. Nobody wanted this battle. The Americans wanted to rest and reorganize after months of constant fighting. The French wanted to liberate Alsace quickly for political and emotional reasons. And the Germans wanted to somehow delay the inevitable defeat looming on the horizon. But the weather, the cursed, unrelenting weather, decided everything. Snowstorms crippled air support. Frozen ground swallowed artillery shells. Tanks became giant metal coffins stuck in ice. Generals on both sides struggled to move anything larger than a jeep. Men marched in slow motion, sinking into snow up to their knees. What should have been a rapid offensive turned into a slow, grinding struggle, village by village, field by field, house by house. The Colmar Pocket was only 30 miles wide, but it felt like crossing the moon.
Every village in the Colmar region became a battlefield worthy of a horror story. Turkheim, Jebsheim, Sigelsheim, Reekveer, names that sound peaceful and picturesque today, were once places of fire, blood, and ice. American troops often found themselves fighting in whiteout blizzards where visibility dropped to just a few feet. They could hear German machine guns. They could hear tanks rumbling, but they couldn't see a thing until the muzzle flash lit up the night like lightning. Inside houses, Germans waited behind overturned tables, sewing machines, pianos, anything that could stop a bullet. The Americans kicked down doors to find Germans huddled with rifles, shivering but ready to kill. The fighting was intimate, personal, face to face. This wasn't war. This was survival. Sigelsheim became one of the defining moments of the battle. The village sat on a ridge overlooking the entire pocket, making it the perfect German stronghold. From here, German snipers and machine gunners could strike American and French positions with precision. The 3rd Infantry Division was ordered to take it. The men called it the Mountain of Death, because reaching the top meant walking straight into a storm of bullets. Snow was stained red everywhere. Bodies rolled down the slopes like logs. Tanks struggled to climb the icy incline, slipping backward as German shells ripped through their armor. But the Americans were relentless. Inch by inch, they fought their way up. By nightfall, the ridge was theirs. The cost? Hundreds wounded, dozens dead, and a mountain covered in frozen silence. Sigelsheim had fallen, but the pocket remained unbroken.
If Sigelsheim was a mountain of death, Jebsheim was a hell of ice and blood. Soldiers called it Little Stalingrad, and for good reason. Streets were blown apart, buildings turned into skeletons, and every corner hid a German squad waiting to ambush. The Americans fought beside French-Moroccan troops, fearless, skilled, and legendary for their ferocity in close combat. Together they advanced through knee-deep snow, fighting house by house with grenades and bayonets. One American officer wrote, "Jebsheim wasn't a town. It was a frozen maze of death. We didn't walk, we crawled." By the time Jebsheim was finally taken, it was nothing but ruins. The price was enormous, but the German line had cracked. The frozen hell was beginning to thaw.
In this battle of white darkness, tanks played a crucial role. The U.S. 12th Armored Division charged into the pocket like a hammer smashing ice. Their Shermans and tank destroyers slid across frozen roads, swerving dangerously but pushing forward with courage. The Germans unleashed Panzerfausts from rooftops. Anti-tank guns fired from behind barns. Snow buried entire vehicles. Engines froze solid. But the 12th Armored kept going, rescuing infantry units trapped under enemy pressure and breaking German lines that had held for weeks. One tanker wrote, "The cold was our enemy. The Germans were a problem, but the cold tried to kill us every hour." These men were never given the fame of the divisions that fought in the Bulge, but they were the shield that kept the front line alive.
For the French First Army, the Colmar Pocket wasn't just a battlefield. It was a wound that needed to be healed. Alsace had suffered under German occupation for years, and freeing it was deeply personal. French soldiers fought like men on a mission. They marched through blizzards that turned their mustaches to ice. They charged into machine gun nests with raw fury, shouting battle cries that echoed across frozen vineyards. Civilians cheered them on even as bombs fell around them. General Delattre, the French commander, pushed his men forward with fiery determination. They liberated village after village, their tricolor flags fluttering in icy winds. By the end, the French First Army had freed its homeland, step by painful step. As the Germans retreated toward the Rhine River, the battle became even more desperate. Bridges were blown, roads were mined. Retreating troops fought with savage determination, refusing to surrender. The Americans and French pushed them hard, chasing them through ice fields and frozen forests. Artillery lit up the sky every night, turning the snow orange and red. German civilians fled the chaos, dragging sleds with their children wrapped in blankets. Men on both sides fought until their hands bled. Frostbite claimed more soldiers than bullets. At night, wind howled like the cry of a dying soldier, whipping snow into ghostly shapes. This was the last stand west of the Rhine, and Germany intended to make it count. By early February, the ring around Colmar was tightening. The Americans attacked from the north, the French from the south. German units became trapped in shrinking pockets of resistance, cut off from supplies and reinforcements. Finally, on February 9th, the city of Colmar fell. The German 19th Army, broken, exhausted, starving, was pushed across the Rhine. Hitler's dream of holding Alsace was dead. A major strategic defeat had become reality. The pocket was gone. The frozen hell had ended. The Allies had won.
When the snow melted in spring, the true scale of the battle was visible. Entire vineyards were flattened. Villages were nothing but burned skeletons. Roads were lined with destroyed tanks, and beneath the snow, bodies emerged. Many soldiers who fought here never received public recognition. The Battle of the Bulge took the spotlight, Normandy took the glory, and Colmar became a line in a history book, barely noticed. But those who survived, they never forgot. The veterans spoke of frozen boots, frozen fingers, frozen weapons, but burning determination. They remembered comrades who fell asleep in the snow and never woke up. They remembered the faces of German soldiers who surrendered with frostbitten hands. And they remembered how victory tasted like ice, not celebration. Today, the Colmar region is peaceful. Vineyards stretch across rolling hills. Tourists walk through charming medieval towns. Children play where tanks once burned in the snow. The scars have healed, but the truth remains buried beneath the quiet earth. The Battle of the Colmar Pocket was more than a military operation. It was a test of human endurance in the harshest winter of the war. A battle fought not just against an enemy, but against nature itself. When we speak of World War II, we often remember Normandy, the Bulge, Iwo Jima, Stalingrad. But the men who fought in Colmar deserve to be remembered too. They fought in a frozen world where every step could be their last. And they fought not for glory, but because duty called them into the storm. As the last veterans fade into history, it becomes our responsibility to remember the frozen hell they endured, to speak their names, to tell their stories, to ensure their struggle is never forgotten, because the snow of Colmar may have melted, but the bravery it witnessed will remain forever frozen in time. This is the Battle of the Colmar Pocket. This is the frozen hell where heroes refuse to fall.